Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Emory Scooter YouTube video. Today, we're going to be taking a look at BrunnerCTF 2025. So today, we're going to be taking a look at two challenges on the CTF. The first, Baking Bad, as well as the second, which is this challenge that I don't really know how to say the name of. We're going to start off with Baking Bad first. So if we click on it, we could see that it says, this new kid on the block, Baconberg, has taken over the market with some new dough that has 99.2% purity. Ours is not even 60%. Our bakers have been trying to come up with a new P2P recipe, trying all sorts of weird ingredients to raise the purity, but it's so costly this way. Luckily, the developers at whatever this says have come up with a bash.txt recipe that can simulate the baking process. This way, we can test ingredients in a simulator to find ingredients that result in a higher purity without wasting any resources. And we do have the challenge here. So looking at the challenge, we could see that there is just one input field. So we can put something in here like chocolate. When we click on enter, we could see the purity level. Now, if we go back to the challenge quick, this is a sign of most likely going to be command injection. So the way to go about testing command injection is whenever you think that there is something on the back end, let's say it's os.system on Python, or an exec command or system command on PHP, for instance, what you can normally do is, depending on how the application is structured and how it's set up within the backend, you can break out of that specific command that they're trying to execute and then inject your own commands. So in this case, if we just type in a colon and then we do an ls, for instance, and we click on enter, we could see that we do receive some files. Now, to go about finding these files, right, we could do a bunch of different things, right? We could do a .. and we could see that it does say illegal character detected. So whenever there's a filter in place, the first thing they're going to want to do is try to find filter bypasses. Command injections are pretty well known to have a very common bypass, which is a bracket IFS, $IFS with another bracket. And essentially all this is going to do is this is going to execute the IFS command on the terminal, which is essentially just another form of a space or a new line or a tab. So when we click on enter, we could see, oh, I put a $sign there. It should be right here. So when we do that, we see that we do get now new files, right? So we were able to bypass the first filter. And we can start enumerating the system. So again, if we do a quick ls, let's just see what we have. So it says quality.sh as well as index.php. So the first thing that we're going to do is just try index.php. And in here, we're going to, again, put that IFS. So when we click on analyze, we could see that it is receiving an illegal command detected now. Now, there are a few ways to go about bypassing the cat command. You can use something called attack, which is just cat backwards. That should work. It doesn't work on this box. They must not have it installed. But you can do other commands like more, less. I'm sure there are other ones that I'm currently blanking on, but let's just stick with more. So we'll type in more with the IFS and then the index.php, and we can go about analyzing the index.php. So looking here, it says that we do have a deny list commands, and we see all the commands as well as all of the character sets that are also being denied. So this filter is properly ensuring that we won't be able to access any of these kind of commands or symbols, so we need to find a different way to go about bypassing. We could try to do something like, do some more enumeration maybe. So maybe we could just try to do a .. but when you do that, it's going to say illegal character detected because the slash is an illegal character. We can also go over to quality.sh just to check it out to see what they have. And it looks like it's not doing anything too important for us to really worry about. So we're not going to really worry too much about this. So we need to figure out a way to get around the file system, and you can do that by trying to enumerate with files that you have accessible to you, but because of this filter in place and because of the slash, we're not going to be able to actually access really any files for that matter. So we have to figure out something else. We need to figure out a different bypass technique. And if you know a little bit about Linux, you'll know that there's a bunch of different environment variables. And one environment variable that really sticks out is the PWD. So when we do an echo on the PWD, which that is the command that we're going to be doing, when you do that, we could see that it says home Cali, which is good because home Cali does have slashes. Now there's a neat trick inside of Linux that you can do, which is :0:1. And essentially what this is going to do is it's going to get the first position, so starting at 0, and it's going to give us the length of 1. So when we click on enter, we can see that we do receive the slash. Now if we try to do 2, we'll see that we do get the /h and so on and so forth, which is a really neat trick if you can't access specific things like a slash or a backslash, stuff like that. If you could find something that has a period in it instead, you can go about doing this as well, if it's of course within the PWD. Now there are other ones as well, like the home, that you can also try to do, but for now we're going to stick to PWD and we're going to do this payload, which is the $ with the brackets PWD01. And again, this is just going to get our first character within the PWD. So when we go about doing this, we could do more, and then we could put in this variable, the IFS, and then we can do a ... and then instead of a slash, we're just going to paste in this PWD01. When we click on analyze, we can see that it is a directory. So I don't really know exactly what that means because, it's more, not ls. So let's just change this to ls. And let's analyze it, and we can see again that we do receive the information that we're looking for. That being said, we can now go about doing additional enumeration. So we're just going to type in more, and then we're going to type in the IFS command, the PWD command, and then instead of the etc password, we're just going to modify this to then say flag.txt. Let's click on analyze, and when we do that, we receive the first flag. Copy that on over to the dashboard and paste it in. So let's head on over to the next challenge, which I don't know how to say the name of. So it says, welcome to House of whatever this is, the oldest Danish bakery in town. Our bakers have been perfecting their craft for over 150 years, and our signature, whatever this says, is a favorite among locals and tourists alike. But it seems like our bakery has a secret ingredient that's not on the menu. Can you find the hidden flag that's been baked into our website? Be warned, our bakers are notorious for their clever hiding spots, and we see that we do get the URL here. Navigating to it, we can see that it looks to be just a standard restaurant application. We can click on all the buttons to see what they do, and it looks like they don't really do anything. They just scroll in between everything. But looking here, it says production calendar with the print calendar feature. And when we click on it, we could see something pretty interesting within the URL bar. So we're just going to copy this over and paste it into our actual browser. And we could see here that it says the print PHP and then file parameter. If you see a file parameter, or if you see something trying to fetch something from the backend with a bunch of slashes that look like a directory for the backend, chances are there is an LFI associated with the parameter, but you'll have to test that out. And one way to test it out is simply by doing etc password. So here we can just type in etc password, and we can see here that we do retrieve the etc password file. Now, etc password only works for Linux. If you're using Windows, you can use the C:/, and it'll be on screen as well, C:/Windows System32 drivers etc hosts. That's one way that you can identify whether or not you have an LFI on a Windows system. That being said, we do need to find the flag.txt. And when it comes to CTFs like this, most of the time they're hiding the flag in plain sight. So whenever you're doing enumeration on a website, you're going to want to look for something called robots.txt. So you come over here and you could just type in robots.txt, and we can see that it says secrets.php is also a directory within the same directory as print.php as well as baker-calendar.php. So we'll head on over here and we'll just type again var html, and then we'll paste in the secrets.php. But it looks like it doesn't show anything, and the reason why it doesn't show anything is because there's some sort of filter going on in the back end, and we need a way to bypass the filter or whatever protections are in place for PHP. And one way to go about doing that is using something called PHP filters. There's a bunch of different kinds of PHP filters that you can do, but it's essentially a way to ensure that data is being either encoded or decoded as base64. You can also execute specific commands. So if we do payload all the things, and I believe it would be under the LFI branch, we could see here that it says that the PHP filter meta wrapper allows you to read a file as a stream and apply filters to its contents before it's returned. So what we can do here is just copy this and paste it into our URL. And we're going to modify it just a little bit to say, instead of index.php, we're going to just say secrets.php. We can copy this over here and go to our terminal and just type in echo, paste in this base64, and then base64 tech D. And we can see that we do retrieve the flag. But I hope you did enjoy. If you did, please let me know in the comment section down below. And please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.